Technology is probably one of the biggest advancements in culture from the 90s to now. We've had lots of technological discoveries and much success. Most of the pieces of technology back then seem ancient to us now. For example, the pager was a device used to send an alert to someone to get a hold of them. This was widely used everywhere, from medical uses to conventional. The first pager was made by Motorola and was affordable to most people. Another device in the time was called a Discman. This was a portable disc player that you could listen to music anywhere with. Also, the mini disc player came out, which was basically a smaller more portable version of the Discman. The 90s were a big turn of events in terms of portability, such as handheld games like the Game Boy, disc players and MP3 players, and car phones. Computers were also a big come-up. The original Apple iMac was released in 1998 and instantly became widely popular. The computer was a huge, fat box with a transparent plastic case that weighed 38 pounds. The Mac came with its own keyboard and Apple's signature hockey puck mouse. It was called the hockey puck mouse because of its large circular shape. The Mac came in 13 flavors, as Apple called their colors: Bondi Blue, Strawberry, Blueberry, Lime, Grape, Tangerine, Graphite, Ruby, Snow, Indigo, Sage, Blue Dalmatian, and Flower Power, which had a tie-dye theme. It came with 15-inch screen. During the 90s, a huge evolution of cell phones had occurred. Many companies such as Nokia and Motorola had tried to move away from their brick-like design from the last generation of cell phones. Newer phones were smaller and more affordable. Also, new features such as text messaging came about during the time. In the late 90s, BlackBerry allowed their devices to access email, web browsing, and many more wireless features faster than ever before. Hang on, I'm not done. I gotta read this part now. Go away. We're just gonna cut this part out, right?
We're gonna cut it. We're gonna do it in segments.
I'm gonna finish.
What?
I gotta finish. Go away. Video games also started rising in popularity in the 90s. Video game consoles like the Sega Genesis and the Nintendo 64 and the original PlayStation rose in popularity very fast. In terms of work and business, those are also a big upcoming along with school. Instead of storing your typed documents on drives and Dropbox, you had to use a floppy disk. In conclusion, technology has come very far since the 90s and it will continue to grow on and on. And that's it. That's all she wrote.
Politics in the 1990s. Under George H.W. Bush from 1989 to 1993, there was an array of acts and actions taken by the U.S. government. There was the American with Disabilities Act, which forbade discrimination based on disabilities in employment, public accommodations, and transportation. The Clean Air Act of 1990. This focused on reducing urban smog, containing acid rain, and the elimination of industrial emissions and toxic chemicals. There were also a few major operations launched under Bush, such as the Persian Gulf War and Operation Desert Storm. There was also the budget law, which intended to reduce the federal budget by almost $500 billion in the next 5 years. The U.S. government under Bill Clinton from 1993 to 2001. Clinton launched an economic policy that combined tax increases and spending cuts to better the usage of money in the U.S. government. Clinton helped the economy boom and lower the deficit from $290 billion to $203 billion by 1994. Clinton launched the NAFTA, which was the North American Free Trade Agreement between Canada, Mexico, and the United States. Music in the 1990s was a huge part of daily life. There was a mix of rap, pop, alternative, hip-hop, and techno. Some popular artists emerged from the rap era, such as Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer. Then there was a new type of rock that came to the front. That was embodied by Nirvana and Pearl Jam, but by the end of the 1990s, society was a bit bored of what they were singing. This gave way to a new, more happy rock, such as Hootie and the Blowfish, and later allowed more pop-sounding artists to come to the front, such as Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. Another big part of the 1990s was the fashion. There was a rise of many different styles of clothing and accessories, most of which were fairly ridiculous. Mostly TV shows and celebrities began the trends, and mainstream culture followed. Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain's wife, started wearing what would become known as baby doll dresses. Shows like Beverly Hills flaunted the wonderfully hideous waist-high denim jeans for men and women. Children played with slap bracelets and mood rings. Leopard print, plaid, denim overalls, and flannel had their spots in the limelight during this decade. Overall, the 90s was a culturally rich time.
Cars in the 90s. Cars in the 90s were at a high point because they were advancing in technology greatly. Some cars that I researched, well, one of the cars that I researched is the Mazda Miata. The Mazda Miata is a small sports car that was supposed to emulate a British roadster. It was first unveiled at the Chicago Auto Show on February 10th, 1989. The cost of the base model of the car, without any options, was $14,000. The models were a convertible soft top with a hard top that could be removed, and then for the models, you could get the limited edition. The car was made in Japan and sold in Japan and America. It wasn't badged as a Mazda Miata in Japan. It was badged as a Ionos Roadster. It came with a 5-speed manual standard, and you could get an option of a automatic, still a 5-speed. The motor was a 1.6 liter inline 4-cylinder, producing 115 horsepower, and would get you from 0 to 60 in 8.1 seconds. So it was a small car, just weighing over 2,000 pounds, and was really good handling wise. Another car that I researched was the Bugatti EB110. It was a mid-engine sports car, which means that the engine was placed in the middle of the car, or as middle as you can get, and it was produced by Bugatti Automobili SPA from 1991 to 1995. The models, it only came in a hardtop, no convertible version, and it came in the base model and the super sport versions. It came in many different variations. The car, not really variations, it came in many different companies trying to base their car heavily off of the Bugatti EB10, and some of the names are the Dower EB10 and the B Edonis. And then some of the achievements for the car was it participated in the 24 Hours of Le Mans race, and it placed 5th in the GT1 category. The engine was a 3.5 liter quad turbocharged V12 engine, and it had a 6-speed manual transmission only. You could not get an automatic with this car. The third car I researched was the BMW E46 M3. It was first produced in 1985 and took off in 1994, was when everybody started noticing the E46. The cost of the car, straight out of the factory, was $43,000. And the models were the coupe and convertible, and that's all they came in. They didn't come in a sedan or anything. There was 85,000 built, 35,000 convertible, 40,000 in the coupe, and they were built in Regensburg, Germany. There was 3 special editions or models, and they were named the CSL, which was mainly for winter, the GTR V8, which was for track driving, faster driving, and then the 2CP, which is just slightly upgraded interior features. There were 2 transmissions, one being an SMG, which is a sequential manual gearbox, which is, there's no clutch, it's a dual clutch mechanism in the car that you don't have to press down, and then it came with a manual transmission, which is your normal manual, and they both came in 6-speed. The engine in the car was a 3.2 liter inline 6-cylinder that produced 333 horsepower and got from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. So cars were mostly lighter and faster in the 90s. It's when cars really took off technologically and started to make big differences and more competitiveness through the cars and really fine-tuning like track cars. And then they were mainly like lightweight sports cars. All the cars I listed here are sports cars. And that's it.